Welcome back to the channel, guys. This is CryptoWise. My name is Dave, and today's video we're going to be talking about TAO, T-A-O, and going into its bear market bottom targets. And we are in a bear market. We're entertaining this setup to get ourselves prepared for buying the bear market lows based on confluence factors and indicators that Bitcoin and the general market is telling us. So in this channel, we focus on macro technical analysis and facts in the charts so we can have clarity and easy decision making in the crypto market, laying out highest probabilities based on chart patterns, confluence, and indicators. No news, no hype, no narrative, just cool, calm, and focused, while other people are freaking out and getting indecisive. We can actually sit back, look objectively, and plan for a good next bull market. Bear markets is where the money is made, and bear market is a time to prepare and to plan, right? Failing to plan is planning to fail. So it's really important to get your mindset and your preparation in terms of what to look for, how much to buy, where to buy, when to buy, these kinds of things. And a scenario-based objective as well to get yourself prepared. And when something happens, you're not shocked or, saying that, it's completely unpredictable, because everything in the charts can be actually seen if you know and understand to read the charts. There's always a pattern. There's always an indicator. There's always something that tells you for any major move, the upside or downside. It's all written in the charts. The charts is basically just a language. Basically, it's a language, right? Try to receive instructions from a language you don't understand at all is basically like buying randomly at any time any people tell you to buy, or sell at any time people tell you to buy, and just kind of doing things based on random impulses, right? Because you're basically guessing because you don't understand the language. So what I'm doing here is I want to share as much information as clear as I can to help people make better decisions, make clear decisions, and at least understand better how to read the charts, right? So here we go. Let's get into it. So TAO is a little different. By the way, before I get into this, if anybody can find a chart that has further data prior to March 2023 on TAO, please let me know where I can find that chart. I've been looking for quite some time. This is the furthest chart I could find. And the usual ones that I find isn't showing any further data. It's the TAO USD, usually the Bitstamp chart or the Binance chart, or the crypto one is usually the best ones, but for some reason TAO is showing less data, historical data. So if anybody knows, please share in the comments. I'd love to find a chart that has more data. So right now this is what we're working with to give information. Yeah, so like many altcoins, they vary a lot. TAO is no exception. It's very different. In fact, it's had quite an interesting move and top and pattern. So first off, the cycle top was way earlier in the season. It was this wick high here, but you could argue that it was these two here around February, March. High. This wick was just a bull trap that led into a cascading down, but you could technically that's the all-time high here in April. But either way, in mid 2024, early to mid 2024, that's when it topped out in this bull cycle, because every attempt of an all-time high basically just got rejected. Yeah, and its nature is a little bit different. It seems to hold up very, very well. Even though it has these dramatic dumps, every time it came back to this demand zone, I mean, that was a 78% move to the downside, and then it went up 300%, and then from there it went 76% to the downside, and then from there it went up, 190% up to that wick high, 200%, and then again came back down, 65, but as low as 73 again. So it seems to be seesawing back and forth here. Common to see altcoins do all sorts of swings like this. But nevertheless, there was this demand zone here that got broken down recently, and I would suspect it would go down further. I'll get to that in a moment. One thing I want to share here is TAO is a little bit different. It seems to have some strength, and the all-time high here, Bitcoin all-time high 2026, is this day right here, October 6, 2025. That's the all-time high for Bitcoin. Okay, as you can see, it pushed higher into the October 10th, and then that was the massive crash in October, the biggest single liquidation event in crypto history, where TAO dropped a 65% move and got bought back up. Within 2 days, it was back above, actually 3 days, it was back above its previous swing high before the crash, and maintained above it for over a month, for about a month, and proceeded to swing higher once more before coming down. All this happened while Bitcoin was actually trending downward. If I look at the daily, yeah, I'm on the right chart. So that would have been this over here. Here's the all-time high, October 6th. There's the October 10th crash. Bitcoin proceeded to just chop around sideways before continuing down, while TAO was actually trending to the upside before coming down later in November, when Bitcoin decided to actually really start coming down into the November 22 low, which would have been over here, which TAO still held very well. It hasn't broken down nearly as hard structurally as many other altcoins. So it's holding very well, although the percentage drop is still pretty dramatic, 73% down since its swing high. But it did that a few times already. So structurally it's holding well, and it has some resilience too as well. But this doesn't mean that it won't see more moves to the downside. There could be, by the way, I want to say this because this could be one of those charts where some alts actually have a separate rally outside of Bitcoin's price. So I just want to make that very clear. TAO could be one of those, because even when Bitcoin was trending down, TAO was actually trending up. That's really, really important to factor in, that TAO could be one of those that has whatever other factors in its own just basically just with TAO, like, I don't know, there could be fundamental factors and things like that, news related things that perhaps is affecting TAO in an isolated way, and that it actually creates a lot of buying pressure that could push the price up early, or yeah, there are some coins that do that. It's particularly rare, especially one that's got some data history. Typically, when we have at least this much history, that the coin usually follows Bitcoin, which it has been, just in a very different way. So just want to make that very clear. So the analysis here that I'm giving of a bear market target is just based on what I'm seeing. Like anything that I do, it doesn't necessarily mean that it'll get there. And yeah, so here's what I'm getting at here. So we have this kind of like triple top sort of formation here that kept getting respected, and then eventually we broke down with some volume. Nothing crazy, but it's volume supported, and we've been trending below the neckline ever since. It's expected that when we have a volume breakdown of a major support level, that the price should continue to go down to find support somewhere else before it eventually finds support enough to reverse back to the upside. So, and this is a basically a triple top pattern. Very common topping structures. I mean, Solana, if you've seen my video on that. So, Solana, if you've seen my video on that, it was a similar thing. So here it is here, triple top pattern. Right, first top, second top, third top. Sometimes the second or third top is smaller, and then you get a breakdown. So the only difference is the breakdown we had hasn't been that aggressive for TAO, which is it broke down with some volume. It's nothing too crazy, so it's showing some volume, but I think it's very likely that it could just chop around just by the candle structure and the fact that the way it looks, it gives me the sign that it could just potentially chop around like this for the next little while and, you know, build some structure. It might, you know, do something like this, you know, and maybe a quick wick down like that, you know, and then up we go, something like this. I could be wrong, but like just the candles, the way they look, because we have a hammer candle and then a doji candle, it's just kind of like indecisive. Usually when we have a breakdown and it's very clear and decisive, it shows you that yes, we are breaking down and we want to go further. An example of that is, I have to duplicate this one. An example of that I think is on Solana. I think would be a good one to see. Where there's a triple top that broke down. So if I do, yeah, so 2 weekly. Yeah, there you go. So see, very decisive move down. This is not a triple top, sorry, double top. My mistake. So it's a double top. But very clear line, right? And it's visible on the 2 weekly, not the weekly. Sometimes you get these weekly kind of fake outs on the neckline, but the 2 weekly was respected. And we had a very clear 2 weekly breakdown, and it proceeded to go further. So very, very clear and obvious breakdown. And yeah, so we're not seeing that so much on TAO. So basically what that means is it's showing strength structurally. Now, the target out of this triple top, I can be very conservative and measure the middle head. Put it from here to the point, and at the point of the breakdown, will put us somewhere in this $80 zone, which is still from where it is now, another 57%. If we factor in how much it's dropped down on the previous drop, let's see when Bitcoin had its previous drop here, was at 97,500, the 15th of Jan. 15th of Jan would have been around here. It was the 12th, so if we see this move down here, was a 52% move to the downside when Bitcoin had this move. And we're talking about how when Bitcoin had a 38% move to the downside. Now we're talking about this turning into a bear flag, so I'll do another video, I think, most likely on Bitcoin here. I do suspect this could turn into a bear flag still that's forming. You know, it could look something like this. Maybe we get some pullback and then another push up to try to test this again, and then we roll over into a bearish flag. So basically this move would get repeated, right? And if we do something like this, that would put Bitcoin give it another 38% move to the downside, that would mean TAO would most likely do another 52% move to the downside, which would be a confluence factor as long as TAO doesn't close a 2 weekly candle above 218, which is the neckline of this. Then yeah, we should see we could see another 52% move to the downside, almost meeting the target. So I would say somewhere in the vicinity of this box here, somewhere along here, I would say is a good area to buy, between 110 and 80, right? That's where I would say is a good place to buy. All right, guys, hope this is helpful, and yeah, if you like the content, like, share, subscribe. Appreciate the views, the comments, and I will see you guys soon in the next video. Peace.